Do you ever wonder why some price levels become magnets while others get sliced through like hot butter? In this video, I'm going to show you how to chart the highest probability price levels that you can find. Levels that aren't just noise, but real auction-based structure that the big players are watching and that most retail traders are completely ignoring. These levels come from a composite volume profile, a tool that shows you precisely where the market has truly done business, session after session, week after week. And we're not just talking about today's price action. We're talking about weeks, months, even years of price discovery and acceptance baked right into your charts. Here's what we're going to cover. First, we're going to break down the trading principles that separates value areas from price discovery, because you have to know when to fade and when is the appropriate time to join the price action. Then I'm going to show you exactly how to create these levels using a multi-day composite volume profile on an hourly chart. And finally, we're going to scale up to the highest level, daily composites, the true macro view, and how I often use a year or more of price data to create true levels that hold up, even in the most volatile markets. Everything we're about to cover ties right back into my VWAP Wave System, the discretionary edge I use every single day to trade the markets. Because it's not just about marking these levels. It's about how they line up with the auction, with the VWAP and its deviation bands, and how they give you a structured edge that's mechanical in context, but flexible in execution. Let's dive in and map these high probability levels together. I'll walk you through it live on the charts so you can see how to apply this in real time on any instrument in any market. This is how you stop guessing and start trading with real context. So let's get started. Okay, we're going to start with an intraday chart. This is a 5-minute chart on the S&P 500, ES futures to be specific. This is the volume profile. Okay, so the volume profile tool, you can find there's several variations. There's the anchored volume profile. The tool I'm showing here is the fixed range profile. All right, you literally just click on this, the fixed range profile button, and then you select the area you want to see the volume profile for. Okay, so this is from about 12 o'clock in the afternoon on from a recent trading session. All right, but what I really want you to notice here is the forming of this distribution. Okay, in mathematics, a distribution, a normal distribution, is where 70% of the price data falls in between the peak of the distribution, the bell curve. Okay, so 70% of trading happens in this area. Okay, everything outside of this is considered excess, right? And for our purposes, this is going to be considered balance, and everything outside of it is price discovery or an attempt at price discovery. Okay, so for the purposes of our video here, we need to go over some housekeeping. Okay, we need to go over the principles of value-based trading versus price discovery. Okay, so this is our value area high, and this is our value area low. In between is 70% of where all price data is located, all of the volume, all right, especially earlier in the session. Okay, so how we trade a distribution like this is that value area high is expected to hold as we continue to trade in balance. Okay, so it held here and it held here. If we can't break and hold at a value area high, we can expect to go to the point of control. The point of control is the highest volume level of price trading. This is where most of the volume has traded so far. If we can't get by the point of control, we can expect to go back to value. Okay, if we can't get by the point of control, we can expect to go to the recent side of value. If we can get by the point of control, we could expect to go to the opposite side of value. If we can't get by the value area low, we can expect to go to the point of control. If we can get by the point of control, we could expect to go to the upper side of value. If we can expect to break out of the lower value, we can expect to continue downward. Sometimes it rejects back to point of control. Rejects, back tests, further price discovery. Rejects, back into value. Okay, these principles play out over and over again, not just on the intraday, but on higher time frames. So we can create these levels that are very important using much more price data than just the intraday chart. Okay, so here the point of control is very important, the value area high and the value area low. Okay, thin volume area. All right, and then once we remove, we have our levels. Now this happens on the higher time frame charts as well. All right, so let's go to the hourly. This is the hourly chart on ES. All right, this is roughly, now you're going to have to eye this. You have to spot a range where we can clearly visibly see this is a range from the last 2 weeks on ES. If we go back further, we have a range here, we have a range here. All right, we have a range here. All right, so we visually spot these, and once we spot a range, a larger macro range from the last week or two, now we can draw our volume profile, our fixed volume profile, starting at the beginning of the range to the end. And now we have this new profile here. All right, and in this profile, we have a point of control where most of the trading volume has traded, the most and highest traded price level. We have low volume nodes. We have additional high volume node areas. And we have additional valleys. Okay, and each of these levels is significant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my tool here. I'm going to mark out the value area high. I'm going to mark out this low volume node. I'm going to mark out this point of control. I'm going to mark out this other high volume node. We have a low volume node right here. We have one right here. And we have a high volume node right here. Okay. Now if I remove all of this and just remain the levels, right, this is very powerful. Okay, and we can expect, now what I want to do is, now that I'm looking at these levels, the problem is I have no idea which is which, right? What's a high volume node and what's a low volume node on my chart? So if we go back, all right, I can see that this is the point of control. So I'm going to write POC, and you can see it right here. I'm going to write on this one, this is a low volume node. This one is a value area high. This is a low volume node. And this is a high volume node. All right? So now, when I take all of this off my chart, and I'm trading on a lower time frame, I can see what's what. Here's a point of control where we can expect to chop around. Look how price went directly to this low volume node after this massive sell-off today. We went right to that low volume node. All right, if we go back, you can see how we broke above value area high. We held it. We held at this low volume node. We broke below it, went lower. All right, you can see how these levels play out over and over again during the session. Okay, so this is good for multi-day composite. Now this same process can happen on the daily chart. All right, so here's my daily chart on ES. Okay, we can see data in a range going all the way back to January of 2024, about a year and a half worth of data. So we can create some really powerful levels going back to January, right here. Let's go to this candle and let's bring it all in. Now we can see some significant low volume nodes, high volume nodes, right? And we want to pick out the most significant, right? So I'm going to put a low volume node here, LVN. Here's our point of control, POC. We'll want to put our value area low. We have another significant low volume node here. We have some significant high volume node here. All right, and we map out the rest of our chart. Volume node, low volume node. And now I have some very significant areas marked out that I can now bring into my 5-minute daily chart. All right, look how this high volume node played as support over and over again during this recent session. Okay, these are very powerful levels. Now, sometimes they play out to the tick. Sometimes these are much higher frame levels. Right, look how we traded in between these two, a high volume node and a low volume node. Okay, so it gives you a much bigger picture and all the data from the last year and a half to give us some very important levels to trade. High volume nodes tend to act as magnets. Low volume nodes tend to act as significant support and resistance. Okay, so this allows us to create some very powerful levels on our charts using composite volume profile. All right, very easy to do, shouldn't take you longer than a couple of minutes. And then you can keep these levels on your chart nice and handy, all labeled to be able to trade with, trade off of, to keep an eye on. You know, I want to know where the point of control from the last year and a half has been, right? 5635 on ES is the point of control. All right, we can look how this level has been respected, right? Very powerful levels, guys, on a much higher time frame. So hopefully this helps. This ties into my VWAP Wave trading system. Be sure you subscribe to the channel, notify. I stream live every single morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, trading my VWAP Wave system. I have a free Discord. There's a link to that in the description of this video. Come join us. We do have a premium section where we have live group coaching, live Q&A sessions every single week. And I do have a book coming out very soon. Will be published in the next couple of weeks. The VWAP Wave System will be available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Hope you guys will pick that up. You can also download my free VWAP Wave Core System Guide. That's available in the description of this video with a link. Hopefully you pick it up. Good luck out there, guys. Manage your risk, stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next video.